Has NASA been lying to us with the NASA X-38 little shuttle type craft that's remotely piloted? Now, they said that, if you look down here, before the X-38 was completed, NASA decided to scrap the entire project in 2002. Interestingly, about a year ago, a news channel was filming an airport, and guess what landed? An X-38, one of these little babies. Now, in fact, even this book, back in 2016, when it was published, talks about the X-38 being used with loads of other X-38s, and you should read the book. And it talks about a particular power device, in other words, that could push a planet out of the way, and supposedly these were trying to push Nibiru, the planet Nibiru, out of the way. So it says it all in there, and that was back in 2016. Interesting. New evidence backs up aliens created humans. Now, this is a new scan using genomes on a skull, and basically it backs up the fact that Zecharia Sitchin, in his book, The Lost Book of Enki, said that 300,000 years ago is when the Anunnaki created the first Homo sapien. And this new data that's just come out, you can go and look at it on Reuters, and it basically says, guess what? 300,000 years ago, they admit that there was only a handful of humans that the other humans followed on from. And of course, if you read the ancient texts, which I have, you'll see that 7 males and 7 females were created by the Anunnaki in order to carry on breeding. And as you carry on reading here, lo and behold, where does it say they come from? Africa. Where does the Abzu comes from? From there and the ancient texts, yes, Africa. The alien blood type Rh negative. What's that got to do with Skinwalker Ranch, I hear you ask? Well, it has to do with the frequency 1.6 gigahertz that they've been finding. It actually has an effect on the Rh negative people. To find out more, subscribe to Blue Moon Sigma. Now, she used to have a channel called Blue Moon Sigma on TikTok, but they banned her because she was obviously talking about stuff that was true. So she's now had to create an account that's got Blue Moon Sigma 2. She's trying to get back her followers so she can carry on doing these live chats. Please follow her. Just go on to TikTok, search for Blue Moon Sigma. She's also got a thing called Project Umpra, which I'll let her explain about. But basically, if you follow that, she can get back on chatting, doing her live chats about the Rh negative, which she knows so much about, and like I say, including stuff to do with Skinwalker. Alien skull. Now, I think we may have had a different alien way back in antiquity. So if you look here, most of them have been found with red hair, which is interesting because the Anunnaki had blonde hair. And if you believe that they're all headbound, go to Inca Tours. They have found a baby that was inside a mother in Peru that had passed, and the baby had an elongated skull. A, so it wasn't headbound, and B, it has different sutures, just like all the other weird elongated skulls. Now, the other people that had elongated skulls was some, not all of the pharaohs in ancient Egypt. So Akhenaten, this is Tutankhamun, his mum Nefertiti, Akhenaten, as I said. But the Anunnaki had blonde hair, and I used to think that this was an elongated skull. It wasn't until I did a hell of a lot more research and I realised that obviously Poseidon is the same as Enki, and they show their hair. So basically they never actually cut their hair, or if they did, it was always be the smartest in the room. And unfortunately this person's picked a fight with me, saying that there's no such thing as the Anunnaki word in ancient texts. Now here we're looking at the Umi Ulish, which was translated by many different people, and they've all come up with the same word in that many times over. And that's not the only book or tablets that's been translated. And this wasn't Zecharia Sitchin either, by the way. In fact, if you want to see how many translations there are, you can either do your own research, or on my Patreon page, I've got 2 videos so far, which is basically proving that the Anunnaki were real. And the second one that was released fairly recently was called The Lost Book of Our True History, Part 2. Part 3 will be going through proving the Bible is a copy of the ancient text. But this one actually proves that the word Anunnaki is in there. So unfortunately, this person's picked a fight with someone that's actually already just done their homework and actually released a video on it. Sorry, I win. Was there life before we actually knew about it? There's a thing called abiogenesis, which basically says that we've gone round and round and round. In other words, life started but then deceased for some reason or other. The problem we've got with that is when you look here at the oldest civilization, we're aware of, ignore these dates, these mainstream dates, you're looking at about 9 to 10,000 BC, not really what they're told there. And that's only because the Anunnaki taught people 9,000 years BC. But the thing is, when you actually look at how long bones last for, apparently they only last for 100 years, which is weird because obviously we've got dinosaur bones. And if you keep looking down, they're really saying, you know, possibly decades, hundreds of years for bones to decay. So even, you know, let's just say the dinosaur ones are a fluke, that we're actually finding them. Even if we did have a previous life before, in other words, another civilization, we would never know.